Bill Maher thinks WNBA rookie and #1 draft pick Caitlin Clark is being targeted by other players because she's not a lesbian and she's white.
Bill Maher just dropped a bombshell, shedding light on the real reason behind Caitlin Clark's European contract move. And it's exactly what people have been whispering about. According to Maher, Clark didn't fit into the WNBA's in crowd, and that's where the drama started. Let's break it down. 60% of the league is lesbian. 85% is black and Caitlin. Well, she's not exactly ticking those boxes.
The league is very lesbian, and she's not. And there's race. There's a lot of going on.
Instead of giving Caitlin Clark the respect her talent deserves, the WNBA treated her like a cash cow, just there to boost their revenue. It's like, really. Sorry, but maybe if the league focused more on the game and less on pushing some social agenda, they wouldn't be losing stars like Clark. Now that she's heading to Europe, where she'll actually be appreciated, the WNBA is scrambling and everyone's acting surprised.
Struggled with physical defense she's faced at the professional level and voiced frustration with the league's officiating, recently telling reporters, quote, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." That's what Caitlin Clark...
Bill Maher didn't just drop a casual take on Caitlin Clark's departure. He straight up revealed the truth. Caitlin wasn't leaving because of a contract dispute or a tempting offer from Europe. This was about survival in a league that didn't want her. Maher exposed what was really going on behind the scenes. Clark, one of the brightest stars in women's basketball, was being sidelined because she didn't fit the narrative the WNBA was pushing. Let's not pretend this was about money or convenience. No, Caitlin left because she was being pushed out. Plain and simple. She didn't fit the mold they wanted to sell, even though she was the best thing to happen to the league in years. Instead of celebrating her, the league officials were too busy making sure she felt out of place.
I think it's natural for a megastar to come in.
No.
And people say, I'm kind of tired of hearing
It's
about
everything.
her.
It's women are catty. The league is very lesbian, and she's not. And there's race. There's a lot of going on.
The storyline here is that Caitlin Clark didn't fit their so-called ideal mold. She's white, she's straight, and in the WNBA, that was apparently enough to put a massive target on her back. The league that's always preaching about inclusivity? Turns out they couldn't handle one of their biggest stars not checking off the right boxes. Instead of lifting her up for her record-breaking talent, they almost acted like they were embarrassed by her. She was the one driving headlines, selling out tickets, but somehow that didn't seem to matter. And Maher, he didn't hold back at all, calling out exactly what was going on.
The tape of her getting body checked. This is a game the other day, and that was pretty deliberate. And look at the other girl on her team coming over. See, if this was men, they defend each other on their same team. Men will fight from two teams, but when somebody checks you on who's on your team, you defend that guy.
Maher wasted no time exposing the WNBA's double standards. The same league that's always preaching equality and inclusivity turned its back on Caitlin, their brightest star, simply because she didn't fit the image they wanted to push. From the start, she was treated like an outsider, facing cold shoulders from teammates like it was some kind of high school clique, but with even worse sneakers. Instead of giving her the praise she deserved for practically keeping the league relevant, they treated her like a burden. And let's not sugarcoat it. It got ugly fast. Petty drama, ignoring her talent, and making life difficult for the very player who was putting them on the map.
Yeah, that's right.
Being reviewed for possible upgrade to a flavor.
I think it'll be upgraded.
Angel Reese's slap didn't just make headlines for the act itself. It was the intensity and attitude behind it that left everyone stunned, asking, wait, did she really just do that? During the 2024 season, in a heated matchup against Caitlin Clark, Reese didn't hold back. In a move that felt far more personal than just competitive, she slapped Clark in the head, igniting a firestorm both on and off the court. It wasn't just a play gone wrong, it was a statement, and it got everyone buzzing.
I just can't. Angel Reese is a hater. And her whole media popularity, her whole platform is built off the back of Caitlin Clark.
This incident was far from ordinary trash talk. It had a personal sting to it, almost as if Reese was declaring her dominance. Some fans even speculated it was a strategic play, suggesting she aimed to undermine Clark right there on the court. Known for her fierce competitive nature and talent for stirring the pot, Reese took it to a whole new level this time. It transcended mere banter and became the kind of shade that digs deep, captures headlines, and sparks curiosity about what was truly going through her mind in that moment.
I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with. That's what Caitlin Clark.
And just when you thought the drama couldn't escalate any further, Carrington jumped into the fray like she was auditioning for a reality show. During the opening game of the 2024 WNBA playoffs between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun, she attempted the infamous eye poke, a move that felt ripped from a Three Stooges sketch. But this time, Clark wasn't laughing. She walked away with a bruised eye and a ton of unanswered questions.
But damn it, in the first 2 minutes of this game, this Dejanay Carrington stabbed Caitlin Clark with her fingernails right in the eye.
The timing was absolutely dreadful for Clark. Already struggling in a game where she shot a dismal 4 out of 17, she then got the cherry on top, an eye poke from Carrington. Carrington was quick to dismiss it as a mere accident, but let's be real, fans weren't falling for that excuse. During a playoff matchup, everyone in the stands was casting serious side eyes at that whole situation, even more so than Clark was after the incident. While both players claimed there was no malicious intent, you could almost hear the collective groans from the audience.
It's been a lot of nonsense. I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it, and we've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media, and there's no place for it.
And don't even get me started on the referees. Maher made sure to highlight what fans had been grumbling about all season. Caitlin Clark was getting completely shafted by the officiating. There were more phantom fouls called against her than in a low-budget horror flick. Some of these calls were so outlandish that even the commentators, who typically tiptoe around controversy, couldn't help but raise their eyebrows and question what the refs were thinking. It wasn't just the fans losing their cool over these questionable calls. Analysts were also pointing out how Clark was racking up fouls left and right while her opponents seemed to have some sort of immunity. The WNBA wasn't just standing idly by. They were part of the problem.
Those guys, they're the racists when really y'all are the racists. The people coming up with excuses to hate Caitlin Clark and the new fan base that she brought.
The racial controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark and her fan base is an ongoing saga that just won't fade away. It's not just the fans adding fuel to the fire. WNBA players like Angel Reese and Alyssa Thomas have been intensifying the drama as well. Reese, who's had a long-standing rivalry with Clark since their college days, has made her feelings known through social media and her podcast, Unapologetically Angel. She claims to have been inundated with racist comments and threats, many of which she attributes to Clark's supporters. She didn't pull back in calling them out. And just when you thought the situation couldn't escalate further, Alyssa Thomas joined the conversation. After her Connecticut Sun faced Clark's Indiana Fever in the 2024 playoffs, she alleged that she experienced more racism that season than throughout her entire 11-year career. So, the pot was not only stirred, it was practically boiling over. Yet, many people found it hard to believe her, given her positive reputation and popularity within the league.
One of the reasons Caitlin Clark is so beloved is that she had a good attitude about it and said it's something to work toward, and that's why people like her. She seems to have this positive attitude. She's an appealing player to follow and to watch. She is this popular. She is tremendously talented. She was the #1 draft pick for a reason.
Thomas went as far as to claim that the playoff series against Clark's team felt like a racial battleground for her, prompting the WNBA to release a statement condemning racism from fans. But let's be real, the damage was already done. The public's emotional response was only heightened, and who found themselves right in the thick of it all? Caitlin Clark. She had become the face of the league, breaking records and capturing hearts during her rookie season. But now her supporters were being labeled as racists. Things escalated to the point where Clark had to step up during a press conference after her team was eliminated from the playoffs. She made it clear that the hateful comments were not coming from her true fans, referring to them as trolls, and tried to redirect the conversation back to the positives. Fame itself, the league, and the real fans who weren't stirring up hate. However, the social media beast had already seized on the narrative, and it wasn't letting go. No matter how hard Clark tried to clarify things, she and her fan base were being painted with a broad, ugly brush. Bill Maher wasn't about to sit quietly on the sidelines. He dove headfirst into the discussion, highlighting how these racial allegations had effectively poisoned the well. The idea that Clark was linked to a racist fan base wasn't just idle chatter. It became her harsh reality, impacting her relationships in the locker room, on the court, and even at the grocery store. Maher didn't hold back, pointing out that Reese and Thomas, both prominent players, had turned what should have been a classic sports rivalry into a messy racial and political battleground. He outright dismissed the accusations as flimsy at best, yet those baseless claims somehow became woven into the very fabric of the WNBA's inner workings.
Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, who's a former Rice University basketball player, weighed in on this.
I think it's really crazy. I mean, at the end of the day, nobody can deny the fact that she has completely transformed fans' interest and enthusiasm for women's basketball.
And honestly, who could blame her? When Europe came calling with an offer free of the drama that had become synonymous with the WNBA, it must have felt like a no-brainer. They appreciated her for her basketball prowess, not for how well she fit into a social media narrative. This move wasn't just about joining a new team or securing a bigger paycheck for Clark. It was about reclaiming her peace of mind. The WNBA had strayed so far from the essence of the game that it was nearly unrecognizable. A league that should have focused on celebrating the sport had instead become mired in controversies that had nothing to do with basketball, and for Clark, that was simply too much to bear.
WNBA season ending for many teams, there are already so many players heading overseas to play during the off-season. But with all of the drama currently surrounding the WNBA, on top of the low-paying salaries, some of these players are questioning if they'll even return.
Pill DCAT. Maher's perspective on the situation was crystal clear. This wasn't merely a Caitlin Clark issue. It was a fundamental WNBA issue. Instead of rolling out the red carpet for one of its brightest stars, the league allowed toxic narratives, racial allegations, finger-pointing, and utter chaos to overshadow what should have been a triumphant story for both Clark and the league. Ultimately, that's why Clark felt compelled to head to Europe, where she was given the opportunity to simply play the game without all the unnecessary baggage.